हमारा, प्रभु इस दुनिया में हमारा, प्रभु तुमको समर्पित करते हैं।
Om Shanti. The song that you've heard is generally played in India when they have the surrender ceremony of the Kumaris. And originally it used to be just saying to Baba, Baba, I want to surrender. And Baba would give drishti and carry you to a different dimension. But some years ago, relatives started to say to the daddies, if we have a ceremony, then we can call all our family and let them know that this is the decision of our daughter, because otherwise they keep asking us, when are you going to arrange for her marriage? And so then they'll understand that she is married to God, and so can we have an official ceremony? And so it started off by being, again, quite a simple ceremony in Madhuban, but it's become very big. And last year or the year before, I was in Jaipur, and it was the first time that they'd had a public surrender ceremony in Rajasthan. And those of you who know a little bit about India know that the Rajasthani Marwaris, they're very high-level business people in India now, but they're very, very orthodox. And even today, some of the women who come to class sit with their veil up to here. And so serving the mothers was quite a challenge. But it's happened. And they had a surrender ceremony of 22 Kumaris, and it was a gathering of 7,000 people in a big, big place. And they had a procession that was about 1.5 miles long, and it got reported in all the media. Firstly, they had a press conference a day before, and the press interviewed the 22 Kumaris, because they were all educated. I think only one or two weren't. Someone was a doctor, someone was a lawyer, someone was a chartered accountant, so engineers. And they couldn't believe that somebody who could have a career in the world out there had decided that they would just surrender everything to God. And so they asked them challenging questions. Were you heartbroken? And that's why you decided to come to God. Well, you know what the media is like. But of course some of these girls had been living in a center for quite a while, so it wasn't a sudden spur of the moment decision. And there was a vice chancellor of a university, and after the girls had spoken and many of the talks, then he said, I knew that this was a place that taught good values because I've been meeting Brahma Kumaris for some time, but I had no idea what surrender meant, and also who are the people who are actually ready to surrender. And so to think that there are people who are ready to surrender, young people, at this time in Kali Yuga, gives me hope for the future. So it made me aware of how important these ceremonies are in India. I think if we started to do that abroad, we might get strange reactions. So I'm not suggesting that we carry that custom here. But certainly when I used to think, why are they having these ceremonies? It put an end to my questions. So it was a very beautiful experience. So that's the song. I'm surrendering everything to you. My thoughts, my words, my actions will follow your maryadas and your srimad till the end of my days. So it's a promise you can make to Baba, and you probably, most of you, may have made that. Who's made that promise to Baba? I'm surprised. I thought that the majority who are sitting here, I know some of you for 40 years, 30 years, 20 years? And you're not raising your hands? You're too cold? Your hands are under your shawl? Okay, let me ask the question again. Who has made that promise to Baba that we will follow you, your Srimad, till the end of our days? Okay, now I see a majority. And today's Murli is you need the power of tolerance on the field of service. When you're sitting at home in a little corner with people you know and have close connection with, and you come to class, that's very sweet. But when you're working in a community, and it's a big community, then you're dealing with many, many sanskars, and tolerance is needed. This is the Murli of the 31st of May, and the essence. Sweet children, you have to study and teach others the study for as long as you live. The basis of your happiness and status is this study. Question: which main virtue is needed for you to attain success in the service you do? Answer: tolerance. You have to be tolerant in every situation. Get together and do service, make lecture programs, etc. There will be many arrangements made to awaken human beings from their sleep. The children who are to become fortunate will study this with interest. Song: we have to follow the path where we keep falling, and so we must continue to be cautious. Om Shanti. With what thought do you children come here to Madhuban? What study do you come to study here? Whom do you come to? And somebody said, BapDada. This is something new. Have you ever heard of anyone going to BapDada in order to study? In that too, a Bap and Dada who are combined. It is a wonder. You are the children of the wonderful Father. You children neither knew the Creator nor the beginning and end of creation. You now know that Creator and creation, number-wise according to the efforts you make. You experience happiness and claim a status in the future to the extent that you understand this and also explain it to others. The main thing is that we now know the Creator and the beginning, middle, and end of creation. People out there are still trying to find the origins of the universe, the beginning, and they have no idea about the end, how and when and what and why. Only we Brahmins know this. For as long as you live, you must have the faith that you are Brahma Kumars and Kumaris and are claiming your inheritance of the whole world from Shiv Baba. Whether you study fully or only a little is a different matter, but at least you know that you are his children. Then the question of studying or not studying arises. The status you receive is according to that. As soon as you come into his lap, you have the faith that you will claim a right to the kingdom. However, there can be a difference of day and night in how you study. Some study and teach others very well and wouldn't think of doing anything else. Just to study and teach others will continue till the end. In the student life of a physical education, their studies don't continue till the end. There is a fixed length of time. You have to study and teach others for as long as you live. Baba was saying this in the 60s, and it's only in the last 10, 20 years that we start hearing about lifelong education. So Baba was way ahead of his time. Each of you has to ask yourself, to how many people have I given the Father, the Creator's introduction? Human beings are human beings. To look at, there is no difference between them. There is no difference in their bodies. This study echoes inside your intellects. To the extent that you study, you experience happiness accordingly. There is a feeling inside you that you are to become the masters of the new world. We are now going to the gates of heaven. Constantly ask your heart, how much difference is there in me? Coming to Baba, going along the journey, and today, coming near to the completion, how much difference is there? The Father has made me belong to Him and completely changed me from what I was. Everything depends on how you study. Human beings can become so elevated by studying. Any status they receive here lasts for a few moments. There is nothing in that. It is as though it is useless. There was no character developed through those studies. You are now becoming so elevated through this study. Full attention has to be paid to this study. Those who have it in their fortune put their hearts into studying. Lovely expression. Put their hearts into studying. They also inspire others in different ways to make effort in studying this. They feel that they want to teach them and make them into masters of paradise. You people beat your heads so much and have to continue to beat your heads to awaken human beings from their sleep. These exhibitions are nothing. As you progress further, many other facilities will be created to help you explain to others. The Father is now making you pure. Therefore, pay attention to His teachings. You have to remain tolerant in every situation. Have a get-together among yourselves and create programs for lectures, etc. One topic that's the most important, that Baba emphasizes a lot, we can explain very well with just the topic of Alpha. Who is God, the highest on high? You could give a lecture on Alpha for 2 hours. She's endorsing this. you also know that you experience happiness when you remember Alpha. When you children pay less attention to your pilgrimage of remembrance and you don't remember Alpha, you definitely do experience a loss. Everything depends on remembrance. By remembering him, you reach heaven. By forgetting, you fall. No one else can understand these things. No one knows Shiv Baba at all. No matter with how much splendor they worship him or remember him, they understand nothing. You receive so much property from the Father. People on the path of devotion beat their heads so much in order to receive a vision of Krishna. Okay, so they had a glimpse. Then what? There was no benefit in that. Look what everyone else in the world is following. It is as though you were drinking pure sugarcane juice and everyone else is just sucking the used sugarcane. Think about bhakti and people trying to find happiness and experimenting with this, that and the other, and it's sucking just the dried sugarcane. And Baba's giving us pure sugarcane juice early in the morning. You are now drinking the sugarcane juice and filling your stomachs and experiencing happiness for half a cycle. Everyone else is sucking the used sugarcane of the path of devotion and continuing to come down. If you were to ask on the path of bhakti, what is meditation? How do I remember God? They'll probably tell you, read this, read that, read the other, and mostly it'll be the stories of the past of bhagats who have had experiences of God. This is true in Christianity and Hinduism. They won't tell you what you need to do in order to remember God, because they don't know. And so here Baba's saying is just the dried up cane of the sugar. The Father is now inspiring you with so much love to make effort. However, if it is not in their fortune, they don't pay attention. Neither do they pay attention themselves, nor do they allow others to pay attention. Then when you start following the disciplines, they don't like it. And so they try and stop you. But those who have faith and courage are going to keep moving forward. They neither drink the nectar, nor do they allow others to drink it. Such activity of many people continues. If you don't study well, and don't become merciful and benefit anyone, what status would you claim? Those who study and teach others claim such a high status. If you don't study, you know what status you will claim as a result of your progress. At that time, you will feel that Baba really did give you so many warnings. While sitting here, it should enter your intellects that you are sitting with the unlimited Father. He comes from up above and teaches us through this body, as he did in the previous cycle. again, a totally new concept that Baba has introduced us to is the repetition of the cycle. Bhakti does not have any comprehension of this, which is strange because they speak of Satyug, Treta, Dwapar, Kalyug, the gold and the silver, the copper and the iron ages. And they speak of what happened in those past ages to a certain extent, but there's no comprehension that the cycle actually keeps turning. They use the word eternal, but what does eternal mean? Again, no understanding. And Baba remembers every cycle, and so he comes and teaches as he did in the previous cycle. We are now, once again, sitting in front of the Father. We have to return home with him. He is not going to leave us behind. The Father will take us back with him. This old world is to be destroyed. No one else knows these things. Later on, and I think it's now, they will understand that this old world is going to end. At the climate change conferences about even 7 years ago, I think, we were meeting top-level scientists in Potsdam, Berlin, and they were the heads of 2 different institutes, climate change institutes, and they were friends, and they both said, we are very close to crossing the tipping points. A few years later, they said, and others were agreeing with them because you have the facts, that we've crossed 8 of the 16 tipping points already, and things are moving faster than we ever anticipated. The Antarctica now has brown mountains, which it never did 5 years ago. Even in the space of 5 years, that much ice and the glaciers have melted. In Iceland, it's visible. You know, when you talked about glacial change, it meant that change was imperceptible. You couldn't see it. It was very, very, very slow. But today, that word no longer has any meaning because glaciers are changing at a visible rate. And in Iceland, as I say, where you used to see the glaciers here, right in front of you, you're now far away. So people will agree that yes, this is what is going to happen. No one else knows these things. Later on they will understand that this old world is going to end. But they won't be able to receive anything then. No one knows these things. It will then be too late. Everyone has to settle their accounts and return home. Only the sensible children know this. True children are those who follow the mother and father and are present in doing service. Just as the Father does spiritual service, so you too have to do the same. Baba praises the children who constantly have this one concern. You have to become like them. Everyone has a teacher. You all come here too. The big teacher is sitting here. How will you be able to reform yourselves if you don't even remember the Father? This knowledge is very easy. The cycle of 84 births is so easy, and yet you have to beat your heads so much. The Father explains everything so easily. Remember the Father and the cycle of 84 births, and your boat will go across. Give everyone this message. ask your heart. First was the question of self-transformation. How much have I changed? And the second question, to what extent have I become a messenger? The more people you awaken, the greater the prize you will receive. And if I am not waking up others, I too must surely be asleep. A very important signal from Baba. In that case, the status I receive won't be that high. Baba repeatedly says that every evening you should look at your chart of the whole day. You also have to keep busy doing service. The main thing is to give the Father's introduction. The Father made Bharat into heaven. It is now hell, and it is now once again going to become heaven. The cycle has to turn. You have to change from Tamopradhan to Satopradhan. Remember the Father, and then the vices will be removed from you. There are very few people in the Golden Age. Later, in the kingdom of Ravan, the population grows so much. The 900,000 at the start of the Golden Age gradually increase. Those who were initially pure then become impure. In the Golden Age, there is the pure family path of deities. Those same ones then become those of the impure family path. The cycle has to turn according to the drama. You are now becoming those of the pure family path. Only the Father can come and purify you. He says, remember me, and your sins will be absolved. You were pure for half of this cycle. Then, when Ravan's kingdom started, you became impure. You now understand these things. We too were not worth a penny. We have now received so much of this knowledge. It is this knowledge that completely transforms us from what we were. All other religions will be destroyed. Everyone will die, just like animals. When there is snow, so many animals and birds die. There will be natural calamities as well. Everything will be destroyed. Everyone is already dead. Look at the eyes of people, and it is as if they're absolutely dazed, confused, not understanding what's happening. Whatever you can see now with your physical eyes, it will no longer exist. There will be very few people in the new world. You have this knowledge in your intellects. The Father, the ocean of knowledge, is giving you your inheritance. And the inheritance today that Baba's been emphasizing and mentions again, the inheritance from the ocean of knowledge, is giving you your inheritance of this knowledge. You didn't have to work hard to get this knowledge. It's coming to you every single day. You know that there is now nothing but rubbish in the old world, the whole world. We became so dirty in this rubbish. Baba is removing us from the rubbish and making us beautiful. We souls will shed these bodies and become pure. The Father teaches everyone the same study. But some people's intellects are completely dull, so they are unable to understand anything. This too is fixed in the drama. It's not a question of less intelligence, it's a question of attachments to the things here. And so the intellect becomes dull when it's totally connected with the physical dimension, and so it's not understanding things of the spiritual dimension. The Father says, if it is not in their fortune, what can I do? I give everyone the same teachings, but they study number-wise. Some study everything very well and explain it to others and make the lives of others as valuable as diamonds. Some don't do this at all, and yet they have so much arrogance. Scientists have so much pride in their intellects. They want to explore what's above and beyond the sky and what's in the depths of the ocean. The Father says, there is no benefit in any of that. The people who are proud of their science are beating their heads for nothing. They receive big salaries that they continue to waste. It isn't that the golden city of Dwarka emerges from down below. They say that the kingdom of Krishna, and in particular Dwarka, the city of gold, went into the ocean. This cycle of drama continues to turn. In a cycle, Satya goes down, but not in the water, only in the picture. When the time comes, we will go and build our palaces in the new world. Some become very amazed and ask if the same buildings will be built again. Yes? Definitely. The Father shows you how you will once again build such golden palaces. Many, many trance visions in those days. There is a lot of gold there. Even now, in some places, there are mountains of gold. But that gold can't be dug up. In the New World, there were plenty of gold mines, but now they are empty. Look at the cost of a diamond today. Today, it costs so much, whereas tomorrow, it'll become like a stone. The Father tells you very wonderful things and also grants you visions. You children should keep it in your intellects that it is now 5,000 years since you souls left your home. Long, long journey. A journey of 5,000 years. Just imagine. That home is called the land of liberation. People on the path of devotion beat their heads so much in order to receive liberation. But you now understand that no one but the Father can grant liberation. No one but He can take you back with Him. You children now have the new world in your intellects. You know that this cycle has to turn. You must not get involved in any other matters. Simply remember the Father, tell everyone, remember the Father, and your sins will be absolved. The Father made you into the masters of heaven. You celebrate my birthday, Shiv Jayanti. How many years has it been since then? It is a matter of 5,000 years since you became the residents of heaven. Then you went around the cycle of 84 births. This drama is predestined. I come and explain the world cycle to you. You children now remember this very clearly. We are the most elevated actors. We are playing our parts with Baba. We are following Baba's Srimad, staying in remembrance of him and making others become like ourselves. Those who became this in the previous cycle will do so again. So Baba's the detached observer, and he's asking us to be the same. You continue to watch as detached observers and inspire others to make effort. What's the method to be enthusiastic all the time? I don't think anyone would give the answer that Baba has given. A very sweet, simple answer. In order to have constant enthusiasm, sit in solitude every day and talk to yourself. Think about your fortune, think about what Baba has given you, all the blessings you had. Remind yourself of that. And Theo in enthusiasm. So Theo, God, comes in the middle of that word. So when you're talking to yourself and being aware of what your fortune is, and then you see that it's God who's given you this fortune, your face will begin to smile. This peaceless world will now remain for only a short time longer. Then there will be no mention of peacelessness. No one will even ask, how can there be peace of mind? Everyone is now looking everywhere for peace. However, only the one Father is the ocean of peace. No one else has this peace. Let this knowledge echo in the intellects of you children. To know the Creator and creation is called having this knowledge. To know one is for peace and the other is for happiness. One, remember the one and you're peaceful, totally peaceful. And then the other, remember your kingdom and there's happiness. You receive happiness through wealth, through study. If human beings don't have money, they feel useless. So much sin is committed for money. Just think about what's going on in the world and all the lies that are spoken, the fraud that goes on. The Father gives you infinite wealth, non-stop. Heaven is gold and hell is stone. People always ask for definitions. What do you mean by heaven? What do you mean by hell? And this isn't a word that they would understand, but for Brahmins it becomes very simple. Heaven is gold, hell is stone. To you sweetest beloved, long lost and now found children, Love, remembrance and good morning from the Mother, the Father, BapDada. The spiritual father says namaste to you, spiritual children. Different centers use different statements. And when we were in Madhuban, different centers use different languages. And the essence for dharana: make time to sit in solitude and talk to yourself. Make yourself enthusiastic. Together with doing service to make others become like you, practice becoming a detached observer as you watch each one's part. 2. Remember the Father and reform yourself. Ask your heart, have I become a messenger? How many am I making like myself? Blessing. May you be a flying bird and claim a first number in the final result by making elevated effort. It's not an instruction, it's a blessing. But the blessing has a lot of detail today. In order to claim a first number in the first result, 1. Have imperishable disinterest from your heart as you burn away the things of the past and the seed of old sanskars. 2. Make a vow always to observe the godly disciplines and codes of conduct from Amrit Vela till night. 3. Be a constantly great donor with your thoughts, words, and in your relationship and actions. Be a charitable soul and continue to give donation and perform charity. When you make such elevated effort to take such a high jump, you will then be able to be a flying bird and claim number 1 in the final result. First was imperishable disinterest and burning away the past. The second is observe the godly code of conduct. The third, a donor. Thoughts, words, and relationships and connections. Slogan. Again, very interesting. To make the atmosphere powerful with your attitude is the last effort for service. And the Avyakt signal. Today is the last day of the month, so the last point to imbibe the personality of spiritual royalty and purity. Do we see ourselves in the way Baba sees us? Sometimes. But Baba wants it to be always. So, how does Baba see us? You top personalities of the world are special and great souls. Do you believe this? No? You're thinking about it? I'm trying to see if it makes sense. Well, Baba thinks you are. So you top personalities of the world are special and great souls. The speciality of your personality of purity is that every deed you do is filled with greatness. You souls with this spiritual personality don't waste your energy, time, or thoughts, but you use everything in a worthwhile way. You souls with such a personality never allow trivial matters to occupy your minds or intellects. Beautiful definition of a top personality. Let's have a few moments of silence and then a few reflections.
Therefore now, in a second, say to yourself, I am an elevated soul, resident of Paramdham. Now switch on the switch of this consciousness and don't allow any other consciousness to come. Let there be no other thought in your intellect. Be very stable. Okay.
Sweet memories of Madhuban. Who in this gathering has never been to Madhuban this cycle? A good few. A warm invitation to understand what you need to do to prepare to go to Madhuban and try and make it to Madhuban this season. Each year the challenges become more and more, and travel to India it's never been easy, but it becomes more and more challenging in terms of the situations of the world today. And so take the opportunity to go this year, not even next year, but this year. I was just reflecting on the Avyakt signal and also on the word enthusiasm. The Avyakt signal and the personality of purity. And those of you who saw the Dadis, you saw a walking, moving reality of those who have the personality of purity. And we've been inspired by that. But for us to do the same is also important. Because although Baba says it's just a few souls in Satyug, it's a whole world, it's a whole kingdom. And so if I'm to be part of that kingdom, then I need to have the personality of purity. My thoughts, my words, my relationships, my sanskars. And so this is the time to be able to do that. And Baba spoke about being able to change the atmosphere with your attitude. Some of you would have heard this story, but let me share it. When it seems that nothing is going to change, it's impossible, the attitude of the daddies made things change. So I'm talking about 1973, the month of September, and it was the time of the first Mela. And by Mela, in India it means a happy gathering, it means fairs, can be anything. But for us it was the time we first started to use that word, when it wasn't just an exhibition, but every state in India was given space to create a stall, and they had a different theme for each stall. And each stall was maybe up to this partition here, to where the brick pillar is. So it was big. And one dedicated just to explanation of soul, God, and so on and so on. And this was on the Ram Leela ground, which is a government ground, and where they have the story of the Ramayana every year. The play of the Ram Leela is enacted, and it attracts multi-thousands, so it's big. And they'd given us this space on rent, not just like that, but we'd taken that space, and what we hadn't realized was a tiny little print at the bottom in which it stated that if perchance the government needed it, they would again ask for the ground back, and we wouldn't be allowed to use it on the day that we had paid for. That was in the terms and conditions. And a couple of days beforehand, the government sends us a notice that we have to vacate the ground. And we've already had the ground for a couple of weeks to put up so many stalls and everything. It's not a joke. And people have been working hard making all that happen. And why? Because the president of Russia is coming, and Russia at that time was feeding India. India didn't have enough grain for itself, and grain would come from Russia, wheat and other things. And so they called it Annadatta. Russia was the bestower of food. And so whatever politics there were, the one who's feeding you is important. And so they wanted that ground back to be able to have the welcome ceremony with the president. And we tried arguing, we tried quarreling, but gently, but nothing was working. And the daddies were in Delhi. Daddy Kumarka, Didi Manmoini, Daddy Gulzar, all of them were there. Daddy Jayanti was in London. No, she wasn't in London. So she must have been there too. Yeah, she must have been there. But it was Didi and Daddy who at that moment said, they've asked Baba, Daddy Gulzar, and the message has been that just have a lot of yoga. And also, let there be a delegation who just goes to, it was some festival occasion around that time. So a delegation should go to meet the Prime Minister and just give her greetings. It was Indira Gandhi. And not say anything about this, but just give her greetings. And so the delegation did that. And they didn't talk about problems. They just gave her good wishes and greetings. And meanwhile, there was yoga going on. And the next day, next morning, the newspapers carried the statement, headlines, that the government has reversed its decision and is allowing Brahmakumaris to continue at Ramlila ground. And what had happened was not just yoga, but the dadis had also told the team that was working on the grounds on the site, get as much ready as you possibly can. And what had happened was, through the night, Indira Gandhi had sent her people to check out how far everything was done. And everything was done 90%. But in particular, they had the images of the Devis, the Shaktis, the goddesses, in a particular place, in a particular pavilion, and in particular at the entrance to the whole ground. And the people came back and reported to Indira Gandhi that it's going to be very bad fortune if we take down the Devis. And so superstition did its work. But God did his work through that, through the bhakti. And so we were able to keep the ground. And it was strange the government hadn't thought about it, but Red Fort is just nearby. And they often have big celebrations at Red Fort. It's also an iconic place, more so actually than the Ramlila ground, because Ramlila ground, when it's empty, is just empty. But Red Fort is quite stunning, even when there's nothing going on. And so their intellects were blocked at that moment. But so then they had the celebration for the president at the Red Fort, so it was fine. But it meant that our work went undisturbed. So that attitude that Baba's work has to go on, it can't stop. And the amount of time, money, energy, labor that had been invested in making all that happen, how is that going to go to waste? And so, practical example of attitude and impossible things happening. And of course, in London, we saw Dadi Janki deal with many situations in a similar way. Very clear intention, very clear perception, and determination. And so attitude is all of that. My awareness, changing my attitude, and this is how I see things, and that determines my vision, my perception of things. And so it's been Sangam Yuga. One of the beauties of Sangam Yuga is that nothing is theory. You see everything happening in a very real way. And you see it first in the lives of the dadis and the dadas, but you learn and you begin to see it happen in your own life. Impossible things becoming possible. And so Baba taught them, and the daddies learned that, at a time when there's nothing in the pot, nothing in the larder, and the sister comes at 10 o'clock in the morning to ask, Baba, there's nothing there. What can I cook? And Baba says, it's okay, wait till 12 o'clock. And in between, the postman comes with a banker's draft. And they're able to go buy lentils and rice, basic things, and there's enough food for all. So many, many stories like this, but Baba's faith, absolute faith. And Baba had the question, why is this happening? But Baba also understood why, and Baba was able to bring changes. I'll share the detail of that story tonight. The story of why the beggary part started and how it changed and the whole secret behind it. an interesting story. But Baba maintaining his enthusiasm, Baba maintaining his faith, when there was no one else who understood what was happening at all. All the dadis and a few of the dadas who were around, they didn't know what was going on. They just had love for Baba, that's it. And they were ready to follow Baba. And by then they'd understood the difference between Shiv Baba and Brahma Baba. But when they'd left their homes and surrendered, they didn't even know that much. Baba is light, Baba is my father, that's it. And so the start of the story is just faith and courage. And then much later on, it's Gyan. And then in the 50s, when service started around Bharat, then it was Gyan. People were hearing the knowledge, but of course seeing Mama and Baba. Not so much the dadis at that time, but Baba and Mama. And they understood and started following. And it was only towards the end of Sakar Baba's days, 67, after Mama had passed away, that Baba actually then was encouraging the dadis and making sure that they took on a different role and started to play Mama's part, or at least the way that Mama had dealt with things and sustained everyone. So it's been an amazing story, and it really is the greatest story that yet has to be told. A couple of films have been made about it, but I have yet to see somebody who tells me that their life was transformed seeing these films. One hasn't yet been properly released, but The Light. How many of you saw The Light in Madhuban? A few. Next time you go to Madhuban, or the first time you go to Madhuban, it's being screened in Shantivan, in the little theatre that's there. And so it's on through the whole day, every day. So you'd be able just to see what time suits you and get it organized, probably through your teacher, because it needs booking. But it is an amazing story. But I've seen Brahmins being moved to tears, myself included, when you see the story on film. But I'm waiting to see the impact it has on non-Brahmins. I know it's had an impact on one particular individual, a French woman, who's in the film industry, and she was one of the judges in a place where the whole thing was being screened in Rajasthan, and it won an award there. And so she wanted to speak to the producer, Harilal Bhai, and he invited her to Madhuban. She came to Madhuban and then was inspired to she met the French people there, and she was inspired to get the whole film dubbed into French. And so it was right in the middle of the season, so about 40 people who played 60 voice-over roles in the dubbing of the film. So we've got the whole film in French, and it's on the way to Spanish and German, etc. But this woman was inspired, by the film, and then Madhuban, just meeting people in Madhuban, and she motivated the whole thing so that it could happen. And it was screened, the trailer was screened in the India Pavilion at the Cannes Film Festival this year. So it's done a lot of service already, especially of Brahmins. But the story, I think, is really an amazing story. There's a second film that's bigger and better, because even in 2 years, animation and technology just leaps up in bounds. And it's called Bhagyavedata, the bestower of fortune. And it's in English, in Hindi, with English subtitles. So that yet has to be going through the process. And it's the same story, but different points highlighted in a different way. So the story of Baba and how one man And of course it wasn't one man, it was God. But the visible person was one man. And how he transformed the world. And what could Shiv Baba have done without Brahma Baba? But what could Brahma Baba have done without Shiv Baba? So today when Baba was talking about Bap and Dada, you come to Bap and Dada to study, well, the father and the grandfather. The word Dada is usually used for grandfather, and the word Baba for the, even in some families today, they call the father Baba. And so today, BapDada, come to both together. The word BapDada started in Bombay. Baba was in hospital and having some surgery, and lots of Sindhi people knew Baba from early days in Karachi, and many families were connected with the Yagya, of course, and many of them lived in Bombay. And so many would come to see Baba, and they would ask Dadi, usually it was Dadi Jayanti who was sitting outside the door to vet whoever wanted to come in. And so they'd say, who is inside? And she would tell them, it's Brahma Baba, and then she didn't know how to put it across to them that it was actually Shiv Baba's chariot. And so then she asked Baba, Baba, what shall I tell them? And he said, tell them BapDada. And so that's how the term started at that time. So every Murli emerges many stories and many things for the intellect. And so keep reflecting on each story that Baba has shared, each image that Baba has used, and it'll keep you very well entertained. And so when Baba said, entertain yourself, keep yourself enthusiastic in solitude, it's the absolute reverse of what Lokik people would say. They'd say if you sit in solitude, you'll go into depression. And here's Baba saying that if you sit in solitude, you can have enthusiasm. So you can see that, it's like day and night difference in what people say and what Baba says. So, but go inside and there's many, many jewels that you can play with. So let's have a moment of silence and many more things to happen through the day.
She drinks the power of the sun, a testament to anyone who's taken on what seems to be immovable, with faith to launch 1,000 stars, to ride a comet straight to Mars, when all oppose refuse to see, and say that it will never be. Collective mind and one belief, impossible. The quiet way unseen by eyes, who seek to shine a neon light, the gentle, strong, insistent flow of one who says they do not know, but understand and show in ways remarkable. wish to swing out of the sea, to land inside this landscape me, a solitude of still repose, and quiet concert there compose, not for applause and not for need of anything. If I could see all that you see, a love that knows not fear, the world could fall, and through it all, a love song I would hear, a love song I would Om Shanti. So just some practical announcements. Those that had traveled, the last night, until last night, we have blessing and toli for you from Sister Jayanti. And you will notice that we have drills on the hour today. So we will have BapDada's drills every hour, just for about a minute, so we can really imbibe and experience our topic. And the next program we will start promptly at 10, and we have a skit that's especially designed to look at this topic as well. So be here promptly at 10 a.m. And we also have gift bags that will be at the far corner of the hall at the back on my left. And we also have our brothers seated on this right flank. So just a reminder, this section here is dedicated for the brothers, and so for the brothers to be seated here. And preferably if we don't reserve seats, but if first come, first served. So if we can be promptly on time at our sessions. And if you can be reminded again, cell phones, if we can put this on mute or put them off so that everyone can enjoy the session fully. And you can speak to me about lost and found. We found a cell phone and a few other items. And I went to call Ruba to make the announcement about the puzzle. And whilst after that, we'll also look at the servery, and I'll quickly read through the names of the servery. Yes. Yes. So the Tolian blessing